What if I told you that most billionaires don't become richer by simply earning a huge salary? In fact, many of the world's wealthiest people don't even depend on their main business to grow their fortune. Behind the mansions, private jets, luxury cars, and billion-dollar companies, there is often a hidden financial machine working quietly in the background. A machine designed to make money from money. And the most interesting part? You probably interact with some of these businesses every single day without realizing who ultimately profits from them. So, what are these hidden businesses that keep making billionaires richer every year? Let's find out. The first one is real estate. Real estate is one of the oldest wealth-building strategies in the world, and billionaires have taken it to another level. Imagine buying a piece of land in an area that is expected to grow. Years later, new offices appear. Then shopping centers. Then luxury apartments. Then hotels. Suddenly, the property you bought years ago is worth many times more than you originally paid. But billionaires don't just buy homes. They invest in office buildings, shopping malls, warehouses, hotels, apartment complexes, and massive development projects. And here's where the real power comes in. Real estate can generate income through rent while the underlying property potentially increases in value. So, instead of making money from just one transaction, the owner can create multiple streams of wealth from the same asset. The second hidden business is private equity. This is where things get really interesting. Private equity firms raise enormous amounts of capital and use it to buy companies, sometimes entire businesses. Then they try to improve those companies, increase their value, and eventually sell them for a profit. For wealthy investors, this creates access to opportunities that ordinary investors may never see. Instead of simply buying shares on a public stock exchange, they can invest in private companies, specialized industries, infrastructure, healthcare, technology, and other assets. The result? Their money isn't sitting still. It's constantly being put to work. The third hidden business is asset management. This is one of the biggest secrets behind modern wealth. Billionaires often don't personally manage every investment. Instead, they use professional investment firms, wealth managers, and family offices to manage enormous portfolios. These businesses invest in stocks, bonds, private companies, real estate, and alternative assets. And while the billionaire's wealth grows, the companies managing that wealth can also earn fees. It's a system where capital creates more capital. The fourth hidden business is ownership of infrastructure. Think about the systems people depend on every day. Energy, data centers, telecommunications, transportation, utilities, warehouses. These aren't always glamorous businesses. You won't necessarily see them on magazine covers, but they can generate enormous amounts of revenue because society depends on them. A billionaire who owns part of the infrastructure behind an industry may benefit every time that infrastructure is used. And as populations grow and businesses expand, demand for these services can increase. Then there's another powerful strategy: intellectual property. A brand, a patent, a technology platform, a trademark, a piece of software. These assets can generate money repeatedly without requiring the owner to start from zero every time. Imagine creating something once and then earning licensing fees, royalties, subscriptions, or other forms of revenue from it for years. That's why intellectual property can become incredibly valuable. But perhaps the most powerful hidden business of all is owning other businesses. This is the real billionaire mindset. Instead of asking, "How much can I earn?" they ask, "How much can I own?" Because ownership can give you access to the growth of an entire company. When a company becomes more valuable, the owners can become significantly wealthier, even if they never receive a traditional paycheck from that growth. This is why many billionaires focus on equity. They don't necessarily want to sell everything they own. They want to keep ownership while their assets continue to grow. And this leads to one final secret. Billionaires often build systems that work without them. A company generates revenue. Real estate generates rent. Investments generate returns. Intellectual property generates royalties. And professional teams manage it all. The billionaire's role is often less about doing every task personally and more about controlling the assets, ownership structures, and capital behind the system. So, the next time you see a billionaire becoming richer, remember this. It may not be because they're working harder. It may be because they own assets that are working harder. The biggest lesson isn't that billionaires have access to some magical secret. It's that wealth often grows through ownership, diversification, and long-term compounding. And while most people focus on earning more money, the world's wealthiest people often focus on building systems that make their money earn more money. That's the hidden business behind billionaire wealth. And once you understand it, you start seeing the entire world of money very differently.